The massive space station floated in the darkness like a silver flower, its petals made of metal and crystals stretching out into the void. Inside the central chamber, beings from across the galaxy sat in a perfect circle, their different forms, creating strange shadows under the soft blue lights. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center of the room, his tall crystalline body catching the light and throwing rainbows across the walls. His voice rang out like music, but the words carried fear. "We are dying," he said, his 3 arms spread wide in a gesture of helplessness. "Every day, more worlds fall silent, more of our people disappear into the darkness." The other ambassadors shifted in their seats. The plant-like Sylvani rustled their leaves nervously. The aquatic Nereid bubbled soft sounds of distress from their water-filled chambers. Even the energy beings called luminals flickered with unstable light patterns. "The Korthok swarm has taken 17 colonies in the past month," continued Zethkar. "Our diplomats tried to speak with them. The Korthok ate them. Our scientists tried to understand them. The Korthok destroyed their research stations. Our military tried to fight them. The Korthok crushed our fleets like insects." A soft voice spoke from the water chamber. "What do you propose, friend Zethkar? We have tried everything our civilizations know." Zethkar's crystalline form seemed to dim. "There is one option left. One species we have not contacted." He paused, and the room fell completely silent. The humans of Earth. The reaction was immediate. Several ambassadors recoiled in their seats. The Sylvani's leaves turned a pale green, color that meant fear in their language. One of the luminals actually flickered out for a moment before returning to a dim glow. "You cannot be serious," said Ambassador Veltar, her flower-like head shaking back and forth. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. The creatures that live there are monsters." "They are not monsters," Zethkar replied, though his voice carried doubt. "They are simply different. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them. Every day, perhaps that is what we need now." Far across the galaxy, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the stars stream past in the viewing screen. The New Horizon was not the largest human vessel, but it was fast and well-armed. More importantly, its crew knew how to handle themselves in dangerous situations. Captain called Lieutenant Jake Sullivan from his position at the communications console. "We're receiving a transmission on an unknown frequency. It's not coming from any human colony." Lisa turned away from the view screen. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Her uniform bore the patches of the Earth Defense Corps and the Marine insignia she had earned years before becoming a ship captain. "Put it on speaker, Jake." The bridge filled with a strange musical voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The words were in perfect English, but the accent was unlike anything any human had ever heard. "Human vessel New Horizon. This is Ambassador Zethkar of the Galactic Federation Council. We send this message in desperate hope. Our worlds are under attack by a force we cannot defeat. Billions of innocent lives hang in the balance. We have heard tales of your species' capabilities in warfare. We do not ask lightly, but we beg for your help." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Chief Engineer Amy Rodriguez, a compact woman with grease-stained hands and intelligent dark eyes, spoke first. "Captain, this could be a trap. We've never heard of any Galactic Federation." "Or it could be real," replied Dr. Helen Carter, the ship's science officer. "We've always wondered if we were alone out here. Maybe we just got our answer." Lisa studied the faces of her crew. These were good people, trained soldiers and explorers who had volunteered for the dangerous job of pushing humanity's borders into unknown space. They had signed up knowing they might never see Earth again. "Jake, can you trace the signal?" "Working on it, Captain. It's coming from somewhere beyond the outer colonies, further than any human has ever traveled." "Yes, the signal is incredibly powerful. To reach us from that distance," the alien voice continued, "we know your world is classified as hostile to most galactic life. We know your species has a reputation for violence. But we also know you are the only beings who might be able to stand against the Korthok swarm. Please, if there is any mercy in your hearts, consider our plea." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of Earth. The blue and green world that had given birth to humanity was indeed hostile compared to most planets. Earthquakes that could level cities, storms that could destroy entire regions, predators that hunted other predators, diseases that killed millions, and radiation from their sun that would burn most alien species alive. But it had also created a species that could adapt to anything, survive anywhere, and fight when fighting was necessary. Amy, how long would it take to reach the source of that transmission? The engineer checked her console. About 3 weeks. At maximum speed, Captain. But we'd be burning through our fuel reserves. No guarantee we could make it back to human space without resupply. And Jake, what's your read on this Federation? Any chance this is some kind of military deception? Lieutenant shook his head. The signal patterns don't match any known human or AI technology. Either this is the most sophisticated fake we've ever encountered, or it's genuinely alien. The emotional stress patterns in the voice suggest real fear, Captain. Dr. Carter stepped forward, Captain. If this is real, we're talking about first contact with multiple alien species. The scientific value alone would be unprecedented. But more than that, if they're really facing extinction and we can help, we'd be risking our ship and crew on the word of aliens we've never met, Amy pointed out. For all we know, their idea of help might be something we can't or won't provide. Lisa looked around the bridge again. Her crew was small, but experienced. Besides the officers present, she had 20 Marines led by Sergeant Kyle Thompson, demolitions expert named Corporal Danny Mitchell, and various specialists who kept the ship running. It's not exactly an army, but they were resourceful. Options? She asked. We could send a reply asking for more information, suggested Jake. See what they're really asking for before we commit to anything. We could report back to Earth Command, added Amy. Let the politicians decide what to do. By the time we get back to Earth and they make a decision, these Federation people might all be dead, Dr. Carter observed. This sounds like a time-sensitive situation. Lisa walked to the viewing screen and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were facing destruction. They had reached out to humanity as their last hope, even though they clearly feared what humans might be capable of. It reminded her of something her old Marine instructor used to say. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one you want on your side, Jake. Open a return channel. Channel open, Captain. Lisa took a deep breath. Ambassador Zethkar, this is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth vessel New Horizon. We have received your message and will respond to your call. For assistance, transmit coordinates for a meeting location. We're on our way. The relief in the alien's voice was clear, even across the vast distance of space. Thank you, Captain Morgan. Thank you. I am transmitting coordinates now. I must warn you, the situation is worse than our initial message indicated. Korthok have accelerated their attacks? Understood, Ambassador. We'll be there as soon as possible. New Horizon out. Lisa turned to her crew. Amy, plot a course for those coordinates and prepare for extended travel. Jake, send a message probe back to Earth Command with a full report of this contact. Let them know we're investigating a potential first contact situation. What about the Korthok? Asked Dr. Carter. We don't know anything about what we're facing, and we'll learn fast, Lisa replied. It's what humans do best. We adapt. As the New Horizon changed course and accelerated toward the unknown, none of the crew could imagine how their decision would change not just their own lives, but the entire balance of power in the galaxy. They were about to discover that sometimes the galaxy's greatest monsters were exactly what it needed to survive. 3 weeks later, the New Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of a solar system, unlike anything the human crew had ever seen. Before them stretched a massive construction of metal and energy that dwarfed even the largest human space stations. Ships of impossible designs floated around it like fish around a reef, their hulls gleaming with materials that seemed to bend light itself. My God, whispered Dr. Helen Carter, staring at the readings on her scanner. Captain, I'm detecting at least 12 different types of technology out there. Some of these ships are using power sources we don't even have theories for. Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes taking in the alien fleet. Jake, any hostile movements? Lieutenant Jake Sullivan checked his tactical display. No weapons locked on us, Captain. In fact, most of them seem to be keeping their distance. One ship is approaching slowly. It's transmitting the identification codes Ambassador Zethkar provided. The approaching vessel looked like it had been grown rather than built. Its surface was smooth and curved, with no visible weapons or engines. As it drew closer, the humans could see that it was transparent in places, revealing corridors filled with soft, glowing light. New Horizon, this is Federation Escort Vessel Harmony. We are honored by your arrival. Please follow us to the diplomatic station. Be advised that environmental adjustments are being made for your species. Amy Rodriguez, the chief engineer, frowned at her console. Captain, they're broadcasting on 17 different communication frequencies at once. Their computer systems are way beyond anything we have. But can we trust them? Asked Sergeant Kyle Thompson, who had come up from the Marine quarters to observe the first contact. The stocky soldier kept his hand near his sidearm, a habit from too many dangerous situations. Lisa made her decision. Jake acknowledged their transmission and followed their lead. But keep our weapons ready and our engines warm. The journey to the diplomatic station took 2 hours. During that time, the human crew got their first real look at the Galactic Federation. Ships of every conceivable design moved through space with impossible grace. Some vessels seemed to be made of living crystal, others appeared to be constructed from compressed starlight, and a few looked like they were swimming rather than flying. Captain, Dr. Carter called out, her voice filled with excitement and worry. I'm getting readings on the life forms aboard these ships. Most of them are showing stress indicators off the charts. Their heart rates, brain activity, everything suggests they're terrified. Terrified of what? Lisa asked. I think they're terrified of us. The diplomatic station was a sphere the size of a small moon, its surface covered in docking bays designed for hundreds of different ship types. The New Horizon was guided to a bay that had been hastily modified with additional support structures and what looked like protective barriers. That's not encouraging, muttered Amy, watching the preparations through the view screen. When the docking was complete, Lisa selected a small team for the first face-to-face meeting. Besides herself, she brought Dr. Carter for her scientific expertise, Sergeant Thompson for security, and Lieutenant Commander Ben Hayes, her second-in-command and former Special Forces operator. The airlock opened to reveal a chamber that had been carefully prepared for human occupation. The air smelled sterile and carried a faint electric charge. Waiting for them were 3 figures that made the humans stop and stare. Ambassador Zethkar was even more impressive in person. His crystalline body stood 9 feet tall, with surfaces that reflected and refracted light in patterns that seemed to have meaning. Beside him was a creature that looked like a tree that had learned to walk, its bark-like skin rustling with each movement. The third being was harder to focus on, appearing to be made of contained energy that shifted between blue and gold. Welcome, humans of Earth, Zethkar said, his voice creating harmonics that resonated in the human's bones. I am Ambassador Zethkar of Viridian Prime. This is Ambassador Veltar of the Sylvani Collective, and Energy Speaker Luminel of the Luminal Consciousness. Lisa stepped forward and offered a formal salute. I'm Captain Lisa Morgan. This is my crew. We came as fast as we could, the aliens. Exchanged what might have been glances, though it was hard to tell with beings so different from humans. Zethkar spoke again, but this time his voice carried a note of uncertainty. Captain Morgan, before we proceed, we must conduct standard diplomatic health and capability assessments. This is required by Federation protocol when meeting a new species. Dr. Carter nodded. Of course. We brought our own medical equipment if you need readings from our end. That will not be necessary, said the tree-like Veltar, her voice like wind through leaves. Our scanners are already analyzing your biological signatures. The scanning took only a few minutes, but the reaction from the aliens was immediate and alarming. Zethkar's crystalline form began to pulse with rapid, irregular patterns. Veltar's bark shifted to a sickly yellow color, and several of her branches started to droop. The energy being Lumera flickered like a candle in a strong wind. Is there a problem? Lisa asked, her hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm. Zethkar looked at a small device in one of his hands, then at the humans, then back at the device. Captain Morgan, these readings cannot be correct. According to our scans, each of you carries enough bacteria to kill most Federation species within hours. Your bone density suggests you evolved in gravity 3 times what most of our worlds experience. Your muscle structure indicates you can exert force that would crush our strongest warriors. Dr. Carter blinked in surprise. Well, yes, but those are normal human characteristics. We've evolved immune systems to handle our bacteria, and Earth's gravity is about standard for a terrestrial world. Standard. Veltar's voice rose to what might have been a shriek in her species. Your world's gravity would flatten most of our people like insects. The radiation levels from your star would burn our skin away in minutes. Ben Hayes, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. What kind of worlds do your people come from? The energy being Lumera pulsed with dim light patterns as she responded. Most Federation worlds are low gravity, with gentle climates and stable ecosystems. We evolved through cooperation and peaceful development. Conflict was rare. Predation, almost unknown. Predation, almost unknown, Sergeant Thompson repeated, disbelief clear in his voice. How did you survive long enough to evolve intelligence? Our worlds were kind to us, Zethkar explained, though he seemed to be having trouble processing the concept that other worlds might be different. We did not need to fight for survival every day. Lisa felt a growing understanding of why these aliens were so afraid of her people. Ambassador Zethkar, you said Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. What does that mean, exactly? Zethkar consulted his device again. Class 12 is the highest danger rating in our system. It indicates a world where the environment itself is actively hostile to most forms of life. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, toxic atmospheres, high radiation, unstable geology. Federation species would die within hours of landing on such a world. Hours? Dr. Carter laughed, though she tried to keep it friendly. Ambassador, humans go camping on our world for fun. We have extreme sports where people jump off cliffs and swim with predators because it's exciting. The aliens recoiled as if she had threatened them. Veltar's branches were now drooping so much she looked like she might collapse. You seek out danger for pleasure? Lumera's energy patterns became chaotic. This is beyond our understanding. Ben Hayes decided to try a different approach. Perhaps we should demonstrate some basic human capabilities so you can better understand what we might be able to offer in your fight against the Korthok. The demonstration took place in a large cargo bay that had been hastily converted into a testing area. The aliens watched from behind protective barriers as Ben performed what humans would consider basic physical fitness exercises. When he lifted a weight that the aliens' equipment registered as 400 pounds, several of them made sounds of distress. When he ran a mile in under 6 minutes at Earth normal gravity, one of the crystalline observers actually cracked from shock. When he demonstrated his reaction time by catching objects thrown at him without looking, the energy beings began flickering in patterns that Dr. Carter's translator identified as prayers. This is impossible, Veltar whispered. No intelligent species can possess such physical capabilities. We're not the strongest or fastest humans, Ben explained calmly. We're just trained soldiers. The final shock came when Dr. Carter casually mentioned that humans had been fighting wars against each other for their entire recorded history. We've developed millions of different ways to fight, she said, thinking she was being helpful. Everything from individual combat to massive fleet actions involving millions of people. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Zethkar spoke, his voice barely audible. You fight your own species? Well, yes, Lisa said. We have different nations, different beliefs, different interests. Sometimes those differences lead to conflict. Can you survive this? Lumara's energy patterns were now so chaotic she was hard to look at directly. The Korthok fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a swarm of angry wasps. Their ships were dark and angular, covered in what looked like natural armor plating. Unlike the graceful curves of Federation vessels, these crafts seemed designed for one purpose only: destruction. Captain Lisa Morgan raced through the corridors of the diplomatic station toward her ship. Her team closed behind. Around them, alien civilians fled in panic, while Federation security forces tried to maintain order. The fear was so thick it was almost visible. Jake, report. Lisa called into her communicator as they reached the New Horizons airlock. 12. Korthok vessels. Captain, they're bigger than anything in our databases. The The Federation fleet is already pulling back to what they call safe distance, which appears to be about 50,000 kilometers. Lisa reached the bridge and took her position in the captain's chair. On the main screen, she could see the Federation. Ships retreating in perfect formation, their movements coordinated and efficient, but they were clearly running from a fight, not positioning for one. 50,000 kilometers? Ben Hayes shook his head as he took his place at the tactical station. We engaged targets at less than 10,000. What kind of warfare are these people used to? Dr. Carter was studying the sensor readings from her science station. The Korthok ships are showing massive energy signatures. Their hulls appear to be some kind of living rock, probably silicon-based like their crews. And Captain, they're not slowing down. They're heading straight for the station. Through the communications array, they could hear the panicked voices of Federation commanders. The universal translators struggled to keep up with the rapid, frightened exchanges between different species. All civilian ships evacuate immediately, came one transmission. Military vessels maintain defensive perimeter. Do not engage the Korthok directly. Lisa studied the tactical display. The Federation had over 30 ships in the area, but they were all pulling back, leaving the diplomatic station exposed. Amy, how fast can we get out of this docking bay? 2 minutes for full undocking, Captain? But the Federation ships are asking us to retreat with them. Negative, Lisa said firmly. Jake, open a channel to the Federation fleet. Channel open. Captain, Federation Command. This is Captain Morgan of the New Horizon. We're moving to intercept the Korthok fleet. The response was immediate and horrified. Ambassador Zethkar's voice came through the speakers, his musical tones now sharp with fear. Captain Morgan, you cannot engage the Korthok directly. No ship has ever survived close combat with them. Please retreat to safety. Thanks for the concern, Ambassador, but we didn't come all this way to run from a fight. New Horizon out. Lisa turned to her crew. Ben, I want you to take us in fast and close. Use our size advantage. Me. Divert all power to engines and weapons. Dr. Carter, analyze their ship designs and find me weak points. As the New Horizon undocked and moved toward the incoming Korthok fleet, the Federation ships continued their retreat. On the long-range sensors, Lisa could see more ships fleeing from other parts of the system. It was clear that the Korthok had faced no real resistance in a very long time. The first Korthok ship they encountered was massive, easily 3 times the size of the New Horizon. Its hull was covered in what looked like natural armor plates, and weapon ports glowed with angry red light along its sides. Range closing to 20,000 kilometers, Ben reported. They're targeting us with some kind of energy weapon. Evasive maneuvers, Lisa ordered. Take us in closer. The New Horizon dove toward the Korthok vessel like a shark attacking a whale. The alien ship fired its weapons. Massive beams of energy that tore through the space where the human ship had been seconds before. They're slow, Ben observed, his hands dancing over the tactical controls. Big guns, but they can't track a fast-moving target. Their mistake, Lisa said. Return fire. The New Horizon's weapons were smaller than the Korthok guns, but they were designed for precision. Instead of trying to match the aliens' massive energy beams, the human weapons targeted specific points on the enemy hull. Where the Federation ships had tried to overwhelm Korthok defenses with raw power, the humans looked for weaknesses.
That's something.
Dr. Carter called out. Their armor plating has joint connections. If we can hit those weak points, we can cause system failures. You heard her, Ben. Target those joints. The battle became a deadly dance. The New Horizon moved at speeds that would have crushed most Federation crews, pulling maneuvers that violated every rule of safe space combat. They flew directly at the Korthok ship, fired at point-blank range, then rolled away before the enemy could respond. Hull breach on the enemy vessel, Ben reported. They're losing atmosphere. But the Korthok were far from finished. As the New Horizon prepared for another attack run, the alien ship did something no Federation vessel had ever seen. It rammed itself directly toward the human ship, using its massive bulk as a weapon. They're trying to ram us, Amy shouted from her engineering station. I see it, Lisa said calmly. Ben, take us under their hull. Amy, prepare for close proximity. Detonation. Instead of running from the ramming attack, the New Horizon accelerated directly toward the Korthok ship. At the last second, Ben rolled the ship 90 degrees and flew directly underneath the alien vessel's hull, so close that their shields actually touched. "Now," Lisa ordered. The New Horizon fired every weapon it had directly upward into the Korthok. Ship's belly at point-blank range. The explosion lit up space like a miniature sun. On the Federation ships, alien crews watched in horror and amazement as the human vessel emerged from the fireball, damaged but intact, while the Korthok ship broke apart in a cascade of secondary explosions. "One down," Ben reported, but his voice was tight with concentration. 11 more incoming, and they look angry. The remaining Korthok ships had changed their tactics. Instead of approaching in a line, they were spreading out, trying to surround the lone human vessel. Their weapons fire-filled space with deadly energy beams. "Captain," Dr. Carter said, studying her sensors, "I'm detecting something unusual about the Korthok. They're not just silicon-based. There's some kind of group mind. Each ship is connected to the others through quantum communication. Can we disrupt it?" "Maybe, but we'd need to get much closer to their command ship." Lisa looked at the tactical display. The largest Korthok vessel hung back from the fighting, coordinating the attack. It was easily 5 times the size of the New Horizon and bristled with weapons. "Amy, how much damage can we take?" The engineer checked her readouts. "Hull integrity at 70%, Captain. We can handle maybe 2 more direct hits." Ben plot a course directly for their command ship. "Captain, that's suicide," Ben protested. "We'd have to fly through the entire enemy fleet." "Sometimes the most dangerous place is the safest place to be," Lisa replied. "They won't expect us to attack their command ship directly." What happened next became legend among both human and alien spacers. The New Horizon accelerated to maximum speed and flew directly at the heart of the Korthok fleet. Instead of trying to fight all 11 remaining ships, they ignored everything except their target. Korthok weapons fired from all directions, but the human ship moved like it was alive, rolling and diving through the deadly crossfire. Several shots connected, shaking the ship and sending sparks flying from damaged systems. But the New Horizon kept flying. Distance to command ship, 2,000 kilometers, and closing. Ben reported through gritted teeth as he fought to keep the ship on course. "Amy, prepare the Marines for boarding action," Lisa ordered. "Boarding action?" Amy stared at her captain. "We're going to board their ship?" "Negative, Captain," came Sergeant Thompson's voice over the intercom. "We've got a better idea." Before Lisa could ask what he meant, she saw Corporal Danny Mitchell's fighter launching from their small hangar bay. The one-man craft was barely larger than a shuttle, but it was fast and carried a full load of explosives. "Danny, what are you doing?" Lisa called over the communications. "Something the Federation boys would never think of, Captain Danny's." The voice was calm, despite the fact he was flying directly toward certain death. "These rockheads have never seen a real kamikaze attack." The small fighter accelerated past the New Horizon, weaving between enemy fire with impossible skill. Danny's target was clear: the command ship's main communications array, the quantum transmitter that coordinated the entire Korthok fleet. "Danny, pull back," Lisa ordered. "That's an order." "Sorry, Captain, but this is the only way. Tell my family I died doing something important." The fighter struck the Korthok command ship's communication array at full speed. The explosion was small compared to the massive alien vessel, but the effect was immediate and devastating. Cut off from their group mind, the Korthok ships began firing randomly, hitting each other as often as they hit empty space. "Quantum link is down," Dr. Carter reported, her voice filled with amazement. "They can't coordinate anymore." Out. Their group consciousness, the Korthok fleet fell apart. Ships collided with each other in confusion. Others fired on their own allies, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Within minutes, what had been a coordinated attack force became a chaotic mob of individual ships. "Federation fleet. This is Captain Morgan," Lisa said into the communications array. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In the crystal spires of Viridian Prime, the Crystalline Council met in emergency session, their forms pulsing with confused light patterns. On the water world of Aquatica, the Nereid Parliament bubbled with frightened discussions. Even the energy beings of the Luminal Collective flickered with uncertainty as they processed what they had witnessed, but nowhere was the reaction stronger than in the dark reaches of Korthok space. Deep within the silicon caves of their homeworld, the Korthok Queen Prime felt the death screams of her children echo through the quantum link that connected all her people. For the first time in 1,000 years, the swarm had been defeated. In open battle, Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the medical bay of the New Horizon, watching Dr. Helen Carter work with a team of Federation scientists. The alien doctors were small, gentle creatures who moved with careful precision, but they seemed fascinated by human biology. "The bone density is incredible," one of them was saying, his voice translated into musical tones. "How do your people move with such heavy skeletons?" "Practice," Dr. Carter replied with a smile. "We've been carrying this weight our whole lives." Lisa left them to their work and made her way to the bridge. 3 days had passed since the battle, and the New Horizon was docked at a Federation repair station orbiting a peaceful garden world. Through the viewing screen, she could see the planet below, covered in what looked like parks and crystal cities. Captain Lieutenant Jake Sullivan called from his communications station. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." It threw. The screen filled with the familiar face of Admiral Tony Peterson, a grizzled veteran who had been Lisa's commanding officer during her Marine days. Behind him, she could see the operations center of Earth's military headquarters, bustling with activity. "Lisa, I've been reading your reports, and I have to say I'm impressed. First contact with an alien federation, single-handedly defeating an enemy fleet, and apparently becoming the galaxy's new favorite warriors all in 1 week. It wasn't just us, Admiral. We had good intelligence from the Federation, and we got lucky. Lucky or not, the politicians back home are excited. They're already talking about humanity's role in galactic affairs. But more importantly, I'm sending you reinforcements." Lisa felt relief wash over her. The New Horizon was a good ship, with a good crew, but there were only 30 people facing an entire enemy civilization. "How many ships, Admiral?" 20 vessels, including the carrier Victory under Captain Nina Walsh and the heavy cruiser Defiant. "Under my personal command, we'll also be bringing 5,000 Marines under Colonel Joe Davis." The numbers were impressive, but Lisa knew they would still be vastly outnumbered. "What's the strategic situation?" Admiral Peterson's expression grew serious. "Dad," and getting worse. "According to your Federation friends, the Korthok have been expanding their attacks since your victory. They're treating you as a personal challenge now. Intelligence suggests they're massing their entire fleet for a major offensive." "Where?" "Dope. System called Castor Pollux. 2 inhabited worlds with a combined population of 50 billion Federation citizens. The Korthok want to make an example of them, and they want to crush humanity in the process." Lisa studied the tactical information that appeared on her screen. The Castor Pollux system was strategically important, sitting at the junction of several major space lanes. If the Korthok took it, they would have access to the Federation's core worlds. "When do you arrive, Admiral?" 6 days. Try not to start any more wars before then." As the transmission ended, Lisa found herself thinking about the changes that had come so quickly. A month ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, exploring and expanding, but essentially isolated. Now they were about to become major players in a galactic war. The next few days brought a steady stream of visitors to the New Horizon. Federation diplomats, military advisors, and scientists all wanted to understand the humans who had accomplished the impossible. Some came out of curiosity, others out of fear. But all of them left with a new understanding of what humanity represented. Dr. Carter had established a research exchange program with Federation scientists, sharing information about human biology and psychology in return for advanced alien technology. The results were surprising to both sides. "Captain," she reported during one of their daily briefings, "I've learned something important about why the Federation species are so peaceful. Their worlds aren't just low gravity and mild climate. They're actually missing most of the environmental pressures that drove human evolution." "What do you mean?" No major predators, no resource scarcity, no natural disasters, no diseases that jump between species. They evolved in what we would consider paradise worlds. Cooperation was always more successful than competition because there was never any real need to fight for survival. Lisa nodded slowly. And that's why they can't understand us. Exactly. To them, our entire approach to problem-solving looks insane. We assume that conflict is normal, that resources are limited, that sometimes you have to fight or die. They've never faced those choices. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm from the bridge. Lisa rushed up to find Jake staring at his communications console with a confused expression. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission on a Korthok frequency. It's directed specifically at you." "The Korthok want to talk to me?" "It appears so." "The message is in English, although the accent is ... unusual." Lisa settled into her command chair. I put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding against each other. Behind it, they could hear the sounds of what might have been a vast underground cavern. "Human Captain Lisa Morgan. I am War Prime Korthfall, of the 19th Swarm. You have destroyed my children and disrupted the Great Hunt. This cannot be permitted." Lisa looked around at her crew, then responded carefully. "War Prime Korthfell. We acted in defense of Federation. Worlds, we have no quarrel with your people beyond that. You misunderstand, human. We do not seek quarrel. We seek worthy prey. For 1,000 cycles, we have hunted the soft flesh of the Federation. They flee, they hide, they die quietly. This is not satisfying." The communication continued, and Lisa began to understand something disturbing about the Korthok mindset. They weren't conquering the Federation out of hatred or resource needs. They were hunting them for sport, like humans might hunt deer. But you human warriors, you fight back. You come close. You accept death to achieve victory. "This is the behavior of true predators. What do you want?" Lisa asked. "Challenge. The Queen Prime has declared the Great Hunt extended. All swarms will converge on the Castropollux system. If you can defend it, you will have earned our respect. If you cannot, your species will join the soft flesh in extinction." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Lisa stared at the now empty screen, processing what she had just heard. Captain Dr. Carter said quietly, "I think we just became the galaxy's apex predator test case." Over the next few days, as they waited for the human reinforcements to arrive, Lisa worked closely with Federation military leaders to prepare for the coming battle. The differences in their approaches became clear immediately. "We should evacuate the civilian populations," suggested Admiral Velmorath, a crystalline officer, whose form sparkled with nervous energy. "Move them to safer systems until the threat passes." 50 billion people? Lisa shook her head. "Even if you had enough ships, which you don't, evacuating them would signal to the Korthok that you're abandoning the system. They'd just follow." "The refugees? Then what do you propose?" "Make our stand here. Use the civilian population as motivation to fight harder, not as an excuse to run away." The Federation officers exchanged glances. To them, deliberately putting civilians at risk seemed monstrous. To Lisa, it was simple, tactical reality. Commander Ben Hayes had been working with Federation engineers to modify their ships for close combat operations. The results were mixed at best. "Their weapons are incredibly advanced," he reported, "but they're all designed for long-range precision work. They don't have anything like our close-range systems, and their ships can't handle the stress of aggressive maneuvering. Can we modify them?" "Some of them, maybe. But Captain, their crews can't handle high-G combat. Most of them would pass out or die if we tried to fight the way we fought the other day." Lisa was beginning to understand the scope of the problem. The Federation had the technology and numbers to fight the Korthok, but they lacked the psychological and physical capability to use those advantages effectively. When the human reinforcements finally arrived, the difference was immediately obvious. The Federation ships moved in careful formations, their hulls gleaming and unmarked. The human vessels showed the wear of constant use. Their weapon systems clearly designed for function over beauty. Admiral Peterson came aboard the New Horizon for their first strategy meeting. He brought with him Colonel Joe Davis, a compact, intense man whose Marine units had earned their reputation in conflicts across human space. "Lisa, I've been reviewing the intelligence you've gathered. This isn't going to be a conventional fleet action. No, sir. The Korthok fight like pack hunters. They'll try to separate our forces and destroy us piecemeal." And the Federation? The Battle of Castor Pollux lasted 3 days and changed the galaxy forever. When the Korthok swarm arrived, they came with over 200 ships, the largest fleet they had ever assembled. Their vessels blotted out the stars as they emerged. From faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, the sight was so terrifying that several Federation captains requested permission to retreat before the fighting even began, but the humans held their ground. Admiral Tony Peterson stood on the bridge of his flagship Defiant, watching the enemy fleet approach. Beside him, Captain Lisa Morgan studied the tactical display with the calm focus that had made her legendary among both human and alien forces. "They're trying to intimidate us," she observed. "Look at their formation. It's designed to look overwhelming, not to fight effectively." Peterson nodded. "Colonel Davis, are your Marines ready?" "Born ready, Admiral," came the reply from the gruff Marine commander. "My boys are itching for a real fight." The battle began at dawn on the first day, ship time. The Korthok fleet charged forward in a massive wave, their weapons blazing with destructive energy. The Federation forces, positioned at long range, provided covering fire with their precise beam weapons, but it was the humans who surprised everyone. Instead of meeting the Korthok charge head-on, the human ships split in two, small groups, and attacked from multiple directions. They used tactics that made the Federation officers sick to watch: ramming maneuvers, point-blank weapons exchanges, and suicide runs that no sane species would attempt. Captain Nina Walsh, commanding the carrier Victory, launched her fighters directly into the heart of the enemy formation. The small human craft moved like angry insects, too fast and too small for the massive Korthok ships to target effectively. "This is insane," Admiral Valmorath transmitted from his crystal ship. "The humans are flying directly into enemy fire." "The point," Lisa replied calmly as her own ship dove between two Korthok vessels, firing at both simultaneously. "They can't hit what they can't predict." By the end of the first day, the Korthok had lost 30 ships. The humans had lost 5. More importantly, Federation forces had stopped retreating and started fighting. The second day brought a change in Korthok tactics. Instead of massive frontal assaults, they began using hit-and-run attacks, trying to separate the human ships from their Federation allies. It was during one of these attacks that the galaxy witnessed something that would be remembered for centuries. Colonel Davis and his Marines were aboard a Federation transport that came under attack by a Korthok boarding party. The aliens broke through the hull and entered the ship, expecting to find the same helpless civilians they had been slaughtering for years. Instead, they found 2,000 human Marines waiting for them. The boarding action lasted for hours. When it was over, every Korthok warrior was dead, and the Marines had captured their assault ship intact. It was the first time anyone had successfully captured Korthok technology. "How did you do it?" Ambassador Zethkar asked, when he saw the footage of human soldiers fighting the silicon-based warriors in hand-to-hand combat. "Practice," Sergeant Kyle Thompson replied simply. "We've been fighting things that want to kill us since we learned to walk." The third day brought the final assault. The Korthok Queen Prime herself arrived aboard a massive ship that dwarfed even the largest Federation vessels. Her voice echoed across all communication frequencies as she challenged the humans to single combat. "I am Queen Prime Korthega, Mother of the Swarm, Hunter of 10,000 worlds. Human warriors, you have proven yourselves worthy prey. Me in the ancient way, ship to ship, leader to leader." Lisa looked at Admiral Peterson, who nodded grimly. "Take the new horizon, Lisa. End this." The final battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Queen Prime's ship was a living fortress, its hull grown from the same silicon that made up Korthok bodies. It fired weapons that could destroy planets and moved with surprising grace, despite its enormous size. But Lisa had learned something important about the Korthok during the long battle. For all their strength and ferocity, they followed predictable patterns. They were hunters, but they hunted prey that ran away. They had never learned to fight something that fought back with equal determination. The New Horizon flew directly at the Queen Prime ship, ignoring the massive weapons that filled space around them with deadly energy. At the last possible moment, Lisa ordered a maneuver that no Korthok would ever expect. Amy, emergency stop, full reverse. The New Horizon's engines screamed as they fought against the ship's forward momentum. For a few seconds, the human vessel hung motionless in space directly in front of the Korthok flagship's main weapons. Now, Lisa ordered, every weapon on the New Horizon fired simultaneously into the Queen Prime's ship at point-blank range. The concentrated firepower punched through armor that had withstood the combined fire of entire Deo Federation fleets. Got Queen Prime. Corthega died as she had lived, fighting to the end. Her last transmission was not a curse or a threat, but something that shocked every listener. Well fought, human hunters. You are worthy successors to the hunt. With their Queen Prime dead, the remaining Korthok ships simply stopped fighting. Without their central command structure, the swarm had no purpose, no direction. One by one, they powered down their weapons and requested terms for surrender. The war was over. In the months that followed, the galaxy struggled to understand what had happened. The Korthok, who had terrorized peaceful worlds for generations, were now docile. Their warriors, separated from the group mind that had driven them to constant warfare, proved to be surprisingly intelligent individuals who were more interested in building than destroying. Dr. Helen Carter's research into the aftermath became the foundation for a new understanding of galactic civilizations. She discovered that the Korthok had originally been a peaceful species, but their group mind had been corrupted by centuries of easy victories over helpless prey. Without that corruption, they returned to their original nature. It wasn't that. They were evil, she explained to the Galactic Federation Council 6 months after the battle. They were just trapped in a pattern of behavior that no one had ever challenged effectively. The council meeting was held on the same station where Lisa had first met Ambassador Zethkar, but everything had changed. Humans now sat as equal members, their voices carrying weight in galactic decisions. Captain Lisa Morgan, now promoted to Admiral and serving as humanity's first galactic ambassador, addressed the assembled representatives. The war taught us something important, she said. The galaxy needs different kinds of people. We need species like the Federation races, who can build beautiful things and create peaceful societies. But you also need species like humans, who can protect those beautiful things when they're threatened. Ambassador Zethkar, now one of Lisa's closest allies, nodded in agreement. We have learned that diversity is not just about different body types or different technologies. It is about different approaches to existence itself. The result was the creation of the Terran Defense Corps, a joint organization where humans provided military training and protection, while Federation species contributed their advanced technology and diplomatic skills. Young humans learned about peaceful cooperation, while alien volunteers experienced carefully controlled versions of the challenges that had made humanity strong. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed itself. The old assumption that intelligence naturally led to pacifism was replaced by a new understanding. Different worlds created different kinds of intelligence, and the galaxy was stronger when all types worked together. Former Korthok worlds became research stations where ex-warriors worked alongside Federation scientists to develop new technologies. Their unique silicon-based biology, combined with human engineering skills and Federation theoretical knowledge, led to breakthroughs that none of the species could have achieved alone. Admiral Peterson, now commanding the combined Human Federation fleet, established training programs where officers from different species learned to work together. The programs were challenging for everyone involved, but they produced a new generation of leaders who understood that strength came from unity, not uniformity. The most symbolic change came when the first mixed crews began serving on ships designed by multiple species. These vessels combined human durability, Federation precision, and former Korthok material science into something entirely new. Lisa stood on the bridge of one such ship, the Harmony, watching a joint patrol of Human Federation and former Korthok vessels protect a convoy of civilian ships. A year ago, such cooperation would have been impossible to imagine. Admiral, called Lieutenant Sarah Kim, who had become Lisa's communications officer after the war. We're receiving a message from Earth Command. They want to know if you're ready to come home. Lisa looked out at the stars, thinking of all the worlds now under the protection of the Defense Corps. 50 billion. Federation citizens lived in peace because humans had been willing to fight for them. Thousands of former Korthok warriors had found new purpose because someone had shown them a different way to live. Tell them I am home, she replied. Humanity's home isn't just Earth anymore.